when you meet your supervisors, they will go over the forms. I just don't want the first time you see the forms is on that one day. That's why I want you to read these forms, know what to talk about, so that it's not new to you when you talk to your supervisor. So your supervisor will explain to you the difference between a 1 and a 2. But right now, and it gives you the definitions in the you know, what the difference is, and so you can read that. But for most of you, if you don't have observations, and for sure you are novice, and even those of you who have had observations but you did not have any undergraduate clinical experience, then you are definitely a 1. Okay. And the ones who've had clinical experience, then you will discuss that with your supervisor as to whether or not you're a 1 or a 2, because some of you may actually be a 2. All right. And the other form is this student needs assessment. Now, this is one that I just don't particularly like. I'm sure there's a reason for it. And here you list your classes. You list, you can say speech path major. That's what I would say. I just would list all my classes. I'm just like, why would they want you to do that? And then for the ones who are prereqs, just say took the 5 prereq courses, that kind of thing. Now further down, there are questions that I think are very interesting. So you can answer those questions, and your supervisor will be able to read the answers to the questions like, you know, how do you prefer learning? Do you prefer learning by having the supervisor show you first? Or do you prefer learning by she can just tell you what to do? Or you want to figure it out on your own, that kind of thing. So that would be the needs assessment. What is it that you need so that your clinical experience can be better? So that one you would need to fill that one out, student needs assessment and student self-appraisal. I would like for you to read the copy machine policy. We do not want you using the copy machine to make copies of our printing machine to print out your PowerPoint. You don't want to make sure you don't leave copies of anything that has anybody's identifying information for HIPAA, FERPA. So read that copy machine policy. You don't have to sign it, but you need to read it. If you need your PowerPoint printed out, then there is a place downstairs, like in the library. There's a computer lab for students. Please use those machines and print using their printer. We have to find paper. We have to pay for the ink in our department. So we don't want you printing out hundreds of pages of PowerPoint. Go downstairs to the computer lab, and there is a computer lab even across from our clinic. You know, use the university's facilities to print your stuff, which is what you're supposed to do because you pretty much, you know, pay for those fees. But the university charges us to supply paper, to supply our own ink for the printers, and we just don't have that kind of money for you to come and make hundreds of copies for your academic use. Your academic use is really, you're supposed to supply your own academic paper and ink, not the department. And so students were doing that, and we were running out of paper with things like the clinic. We're running out of paper for the departmental issues, tasks. So I just want to make sure that I tell you to read that. So on the day that you are to be there on July 5th for the orientation, I would like for you to have in your own packet the student self-appraisal rating, and you can go ahead and rate yourself, put it in pencil in case you want to change something. The student video review, this is all on the checklist that is in your content. Student video review, I have to find out what that is because I do not have a video, and I need to find out what that is. And I will have that up for you in content once they give me the link. The student needs assessment, I just discussed that one with you, that is in content. Student work style characteristics. Okay, you can complete that one. Universal precautions. I need you to go ahead and sign it because you took the exam, and I have a checklist of everybody that took the exam, so it needs to match that you took the exam and you give them that form. I've already signed the form. Now, I want you to mark out where it says CCC-A, because I'm not an audiologist. Just strike one line through that. I am a CCC SLP. Yeah, so Lillian, don't worry about the video as of yet. And then the other thing is the clinical contract. I gave you the TSU clinical contract. They may have a separate one, but I've given you the one that I have. And what that reads is this. Let me look at the contract. The contract states that you have to stay for as long as the term of the clinical practicum time. So this one is for 3 weeks. So you can't just come 1 week and then say, well, I gotta go. You have to stay the entire term of the contract of the clinical practicum. That is true for all of our practicums, the externships as well as the internship. So for the 6-week one next summer, you have to be here the entire time until you are dismissed by your clinical supervisors. The time is set by the clinical supervisors. If they say that you're to be there at 8 and you don't leave to 2, that's your time there. Even if you're with kids from 8 to 12, okay, or 9 to 12, your supervisors may need you to be there until 2 to talk with them, to do your paperwork. That's when you're there. You can't say, oh, it's 12, now I get to go. That is not the way it works. Yes, it is. That is what it's labeled, TSU Clinical Practicum Contract. And so that is the time, that's what you have to really abide by. If you are sick, you have to give notice to your supervisor and to me, your clinical instructor. Of course, if you are very, very sick and you have to leave for emergencies, then you have to let us know, and then we will, excuse you if it is an emergency. However, each clinical setting, for this clinical setting, I think people get about 20-25 hours. So you'll have 3 clinical settings. This is TSU's clinical setting. And you'll have an educational school clinical setting, and you'll have a medical clinical setting. With each clinical setting, you need a minimum of 50 hours, minimum. So this time at the TSU clinical setting, you will get around 20. Most people get 20, 25. So the next summer is TSU clinical setting, and most people get about 100, 125. And then those together, you should have about 145, 150 hours total at the TSU clinical setting, which means you'll need 250 hours that you will get at your school setting and then in your medical setting, but a minimum of 50 each, okay? Of course not, Shelton. I don't know because I don't plan the clinics. I can tell you this. It's 6 weeks. The supervisors in Durham, Nashville, they have to be back at their schools by August 1st, all right? So we are talking June, early June through July. So I would say something like June 10th through July 25th. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to be most of June and most of July, if that gives you an indication. I will try to talk with Dr. Watson. She will probably be in charge of that one as well, to see if she has, she can come up with something by the fall, But so I do know that the supervisors have to be back the beginning of August. So so it's going to happen pretty soon in June. Yeah. Okay. Rachel, I don't know that answer to that question. You want me to ask Dr. Hayes for you? Dr. Watt, I knew her as Hayes, and she got married a year ago. So I have to get used to calling her Watson. Okay, hold on. Let me write that question down. Okay. If polos aren't available, and I'll check on polos too with Dr. Johnson. Okay, what is dress code? Code for July 6th. I don't know if the orientation you have to do the dress code, but I know you have to do it when you go out to see your clients. They may be Chesley. I don't know why Rachel is asking, because they don't really tell me those kinds of questions. So I assume that Rachel is asking for a reason. I mean, I'm assuming that there must be an email that went out. Yeah. Rachel, did you not get the email, Rachel? I'm going to ask the people who are handling these things that when they send you an email, to please CC me. That way I can find out. So I will find out for you, and I'll let you know on Monday. How about that? Oh, I see. So it's coming at different times for different people. Okay, then. All right. See, I'm not getting those emails, so I'm out of the loop on the polos. So I think Dr. Johnson is handling the polos. Dr. Watson handles the camp, and I'm just I'm just merely the instructor. I feel like I'm just left out of the loop. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Angela. You'll have to ask Dr. Johnson, if you don't have yours yet. Okay. So, let's see, what else is on the contract? On the contract, also, hold on. It talks about, you're getting your professional liability insurance, your TB test. It also talks about following the ASHA Code of Ethics. So please read the ASHA Code of Ethics. It is I put the updated version in your content form. With no answer. Okay. All right, Angela. So I'll try to figure out. I'll try to ask. That's all I can do. Angela. Oh. Okay. Let's see, anything else that you need to know? I talked to you about absences. You need to understand HIPAA. So please, everything privacy. You don't want forms laying around. Put initials instead of the child's name on your documentation forms when you're taking notes. Just put the initials. Don't put the names, any kind of identifying information. So they'll go over that with you again at the orientation. We can't stress it enough. So actually then you will have several forms that you will be taking already familiar with. You'll be familiar with the student self-appraisal rating, the student needs assessment, the student work style characteristics, the universal precautions, the clinical contract, the ASHA Code of Ethics. Now, I don't have anything for you to sign there, so maybe they have, oh yes I do. The HIPAA, wait a minute, no, that's the HIPAA form I have. so I'll find out if there's something that they want me to take. The HIPAA, FERPA confidentiality form, and the essential functions forms. So you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm counting 7 that I have given you to be familiar with. Okay? And to sign, some of those you can go ahead and sign and bring them with you to the clinical orientation. Dr. Watson is working on the clinical orientation agenda, but she did give me an idea, hold on, that I will share with you, but it is not confirmed. Now, if you're going to be telling people that that is the time, I can't tell you anything else anymore. But right now, she's looking at 8:30. But that has not been confirmed. But if that helps some of you to kind of plan your day, she's looking at 8:30. I would say between 8:30 and 9, but 8:30 is what she's trying to do right now. 8:30 to 3. But she may need to go to 4. She may stop at 2:30. But you need to be prepared to be here all day long, July 5th. The location would be the Avon Williams building on 330 10th Avenue North. 330 10th Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee, 37203. All right. Tomorrow I'm going to send an email out to Dr. CA to see if we can't work it out so that you can get your, for those of you who don't have your IDs and parking passes, see if we can't get that all on your orientation day. Oh, well, I know Lakin, but this is what she told me today. She must have forgotten. That's what she did say that, yeah. But we're going to try to work it out so you don't have to go on the main campus, Lakin. So wait for the final details. We're trying to work it so you can get everything there and don't have to go to the main campus. Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, this is a transition period. This is Dr. Watson's first time taking over the camp. And so therefore she's making changes than what was done 2 years ago. So whenever there are changes, I think the changes are for the better, but unfortunately for you, the first class is, it's kind of like we're still up in the air. But after this year, then the next class, it will be etched in stone. But now we're trying to put new policies into place to make the camp a better experience for our DE students because, it hasn't been. The externship clinical placements, I'm not sure. There's some transition there too, Rachel. I think it will still be Mrs. Hunter, but I am not sure exactly. So you'll have to wait on that name. But it won't be, Dr. Watson won't be over the externships. She's only over the summer camps, the internships. And I can tell you it's not me either. So, okay, any other questions? Okay. All right, so the other thing that I asked you to do just to kind of help you get prepared, here are your forms right here to complete. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 forms are the ones that I have talked to you about in terms of things that you can kind of have already done. Okay, and I'm going to give this list to Dr. Hayes so that she will be expecting these, so she won't be making copies of these forms because you will already have them in your packet. And hopefully it'll help your talking with your supervisor go quicker so you can do other things, like practice taking the test. You need to practice on the fluority and the PLS. I know it. Other items to bring. Now, the liability insurance, you're going to pay for it through the bursar's office, and you will show us a receipt that you paid. Now, I'm trying to see if you can do that from your home, you know, like online or something, and call them and give them the credit card. Because the bursar's office, you would have to go over to the main campus. So I'm trying to see if I can work this out for you. You need to bring your observation hours in, the documentation from your university. You know, it needs to look official. If it, you know, it's not a sheet of paper with signatures on it, because we don't know. It has to have, you know, something that looks official, like it came from a university. They won't accept it. So it's up to you to make sure that you have something that looks like it's, yes, bring your copies. Who is that? Whoever you are. Rachel. Yeah, bring your copies because they'll want to put those in the academic file they have. Dr. Matlock has them in her file. I don't know if she's given them to Dr. Watson or not. She may be. But bring your copy. Bring your copy. And if they're in there, they'll say we don't need it, and then you just pack it up. You know, you just take it back with you. You can bring your copy and then just make a copy of your copy if we need them. Okay? The TB test completed with the results. All right. And anything that you sign, always make a copy for your own personal records. If you're going to turn something into us, you should have a copy of it too. You get you a notebook started and put it in your notebook. Okay? And so that if there is any questions, if a file for some reason slips out of your folder, and then the supervisor is looking through it and they say, uh-oh, we're missing this form, then you need to make sure that you have another copy. Oh, I'm sure that'll be okay because that looks official. Okay, yes. And plus, Julie, I read it. It's on the recording. Okay. So they're going to be expecting that you're already familiar. The supervisor may still go over it with you, like the essential functions. The essential functions just states that you are capable, mentally and physically capable, of carrying out the duties of a student clinician. So, you know, if you have some kind of disability, then you have to go and contact the office to let them know so that they will send us a letter. We will make accommodations. However, if the accommodations are such that you can't, even with the accommodations, you still can't fulfill the duties of a speech-language pathologist, then you may have to find another profession. And so the essential function is you verifying with the department that you can do what you need to do to become a speech pathologist. For example, as I gave an example to one of your classmates, if you're a surgeon, but you have a tremor in your hand, then it's not a good idea for you to want, as much as you might want to be a surgeon in your heart, it may not be a good idea to be a surgeon who has a tremor in their hand. So you don't have the physical ability to be a surgeon if it's going to endanger the lives of your client. So if there is something in which you can't fulfill the duties to become a speech pathologist that will put the client at risk, then the essential functions, you're saying to us that you don't have anything like that. And that's why you're signing that you have the skills, the ability, physical, mental abilities to carry out the job to become a speech pathologist. Oh yeah, the work style characteristics, yes. You can fill that out now. You can actually fill out all of these now. You can fill out the essential functions. They still may want to go over it with you. You can go ahead and sign it, but they may want to talk it over to make sure you're understanding it. Universal precautions, we've already done it. You go ahead and sign it, but get rid of the CCCA because that's not me. That was Dr. Matlock, and somehow that CCCA stayed on the form. HIPAA and FERPA, you've already done that with me. You can go ahead and sign it. You've done it through your academic orientation, and we're going to do it again next week here, just briefly, and they're going to do it again in orientation. That's how important HIPAA is. Student needs assessment, you can go ahead and complete that form. Self-appraisal rating form, you can complete that form because it's a self-appraisal. You're rating yourself. You can complete that form. So really all of these are kind of the forms that you can complete. Okay. Oh, did I just go? Did I do it twice? Where am I? Okay, I was going to say, my goodness. All right, so are there any questions? Okay, I'm getting ready to go to the fluidity. We're going to talk about the fluidity next, and then we'll talk about writing a goal. Okay, so you were to do the fluidity, right? I gave you an example. Now the fluidity, you had to make the child 4. So in order to do because I only made copies for a 4-year-old. So did you make your child 4 in terms of the year? Good. All right. And so this is just practice. I told you could work as a group. I'm not grading you on it. You can work individually, however you wanted to do it. Just to get familiar with how to score and do this screener. For those of you who are really new at this, then you're going to really have to take some time to practice giving it to each other. Okay, hold on. Oh gosh, I am burning up. Okay. All right. Yes. And my AC is on, but it is so hot. Let's see which one of these. Okay, now before I go over this, we're going to do this first. Uh-oh. Let me see. Looks like it downloaded the same one. This is your assignment. Okay, this is the part I want to go over. The test overview. I did talk a little bit about this. This is your PowerPoint. We went over this a little bit last week about the fluidity, okay? About what its purpose is to screen, okay? And we went over that, identifying information. I'm just reviewing quickly. And then it has different subtests, articulation, repeating sentences. And here, you just say what I say, following directions and answering questions. You can also go online and maybe even get a better look at the protocol on it. If you, some websites will have it where you can get a better idea. Ooh, excuse me. Here, you're going to be showing pictures. You see there's a picture book. The protocol is a test booklet when it says protocol. And the picture book, you're going to read the black to yourself, and you're going to read the red part aloud to the child. And your target is the ING. And so you want the child to say ING. So you're going to ask them about the picture. What is the, you know, what's going on? Tell me about the picture. And you're wanting them to say ING, like he is jumping, that kind of thing, because you're describing actions. Actions would be verbs, right? So that is that one. Sequencing events. So here they would have to tell you in order, you know, either, I don't know if it's a story or how something is done, but they have to tell you in the order. And then you will score it based on the directions that are given. Score 1 point for 3 or more steps. Score 1 point for maintaining the topic, those kind of things. So you really have to get familiar with how to score it. That's why you need to practice giving it to each other on that Wednesday night, because Thursday you're using it. And then we will talk about the scores of the next one, okay? Let's see. So this is what the test, the front page of the test looks like, and I gave you an example of that. And then here are the subtests, and you can see here's the red in which you will be reading that part of it. And then here are the words that the child would be saying, and then what you need to do, the notes that you would take here. I would suggest to you on the RTIC that you transcribe after, oh my God, Angela, that's true, you don't even have time. That you transcribe the word versus just putting the error. So if this is can, I can barely see it. So let's suppose the child says can, then you want to go ahead and put T, you know, in right here. That's what I would do. So that later on, if I want to later on go back and score it, then I can go ahead and score it later. So I'm hoping Dr. Smith, maybe she'll give you a break. So bad you don't have RTIC, because I would give you a break. I would just say, listen, y'all, y'all go ahead and, you know, practice, because I know it's important. So, okay. So anyway, repeating sentences. So here you see it's all in red, so you have to repeat what's in red. That's what you say. And usually when you read the manual, you have to repeat it the way they say it. You can't change a word. You invalidate the test. You can't say, oh, this word is too hard. I'm going to make it easier. You can't do that. What you'll have to do is read it exactly the way they say it. Practice your reading. You don't want to go too fast, because you're going to blame the child if you say, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then the child can't repeat it back. It's not fair. So practice, you know, saying it at a normal pace, and don't go too slow either. But I had some students come out and test some adults at Hadley Park, and they had to repeat sentences after the students. I was just like, my God, slow it down. I can't even repeat after that, and don't go too slow. Oh, well now, you'll have to talk that over with your supervisor, Lillian. I can't really, only because supervisors have different ways that they want you to handle that situation. But they will be right there with you, and they will help you bring your child back to task. I don't know, no, Angela, I didn't say that. I don't know if you can see the complete test online. There is a possibility. You can search online to see if it's there. Sometimes you can. Sometimes they'll have some sample test items online that you can see, but I can't say it'll be the complete test. Yeah, it's the word complete. I didn't say complete, but you know, I guess you can. But the test itself, you can find a page or two or excerpts online, and who knows, there may be somebody who did put it online. And then there's the rest of it. Okay, so now let's go back to the fluidity that you did. I can't find my notes, people, so hold on. Let me see if I put it in my bag. The notes where I did the child myself. Looks like I put this in twice. So I'm going to find the one right here. Okay, right here. Oh, and Angela, I may have just said it wrong, so don't blame yourself. It could have been me. Hold on. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have to, y'all are going to have to tell me your answers, and then I'll just have to look at it and agree, because right now I don't see my flu hardy. Okay, so the very first thing is when you share test results, first you got to get permission to share the test results. And then, hold on. Okay. And then number two, you should have an interpretation about what the results mean. You should also have alternative interpretations, like, you know, well, it could be that this was happening, that type of thing, especially if it doesn't quite look right. It's not as clear-cut. And I know right now I'm speaking a foreign language, but once you give the test, it will be much clearer. The only way you can really learn is to actually do it. And then after you do it on July 5th, then you and we will meet again on that Monday, and then we can talk about your experiences. And then that way it'll be much better. Some of your classmates have already done this many times, and have also done the PLS. And so what you'll need to do is, hopefully, the ones who have the experience, please help the ones who don't have the experience. All right. You want to look for reports, so other diagnostic workup, and determine how do they relate to the results from the fluidity. Are they consistent with the fluidity? Did the fluidity say that these students passed the screening, but yet you have a report that says they have a language problem. Now, why is there a problem here? So it's your job to figure out. Or the fluidity says that they failed the fluidity, the screener, and so the diagnostic test also says the same thing. So therefore, you're consistent. The results are consistent, and you don't have to be as concerned. Any recommendations if you need to have another test done? Okay. All right. So how old was your child? How old was the child that you did? For what? Very good. 4 years and 3, yes. Very good. Now, I have 8 days. Oh, it just depends. I guess it depends on when you did it. I did mine on the 19th, which was, yeah. I did mine today, so that would be 8 days. So maybe they did theirs a different day. So it just depends on your day that you did it. So, yes. All right. So you have that. So 4 years. So basically, we're just going to go with 4 years and 3 months. All right. So, oh, I hate that I don't have my, okay, so I have to pull up the assignment. All right, no, I don't have to do that. So articulation, what did you get for the raw score? I gave you the raw score, wasn't it the 26? Right. So now if you look at the percentile, what did you get for your percentile? Right, that looks right to me from what I remember. And what was your standard score? All right, so a 9. Did everybody get that? Everybody? Any questions so far? Okay, any questions from anybody? Okay, I'm just going to give Doug, you don't have to say, thank you, Lindsay. Let me call out some names. Sierra, you have any questions? Alyssa Harrelson. All right. Andrea Robinson. Hannah. Andrea. Josh. Colt. Do you have any questions? I'm trying to see people that I didn't see their names. Nicole Boland. Tiffany. Okay. Castillo. All righty. Okay then. All right. So now repeating sentences and following directions. What was your raw score for repeating sentences and following directions? 6 and what about following directions? 6 and 12. Right. So then you add those two up, and so what is your sum raw score? 18. Right. Now, so that is considered your reception language quotient. That is what that RLQ, receptive language. So that's receptive language quotient. That's what that is considered. So even though he's repeating sentences and you would think, oh, that's kind of expressive. In my day, that was expressive. But the thing is, their idea is that they have to understand what it is that you're saying in order to bring it back out. It's not self-generated. It's not self-generated. So receptive language quotient. So you have an 18. I did not do the age equivalent because age equivalents are 4, and you can, and if they want you to do an age equivalent, you can look that up. But I would have to make a copy, and I didn't want to do that. Age equivalents are something I don't use. But if your supervisor at the speech camp wants you to do it, you look up the age equivalent by looking up, I think, the raw score. So we're going to skip age equivalent, all right? And so now if you look at this 11, the sum raw score, let me see, hold on. Oh, no, don't do that. So number 1, so repeating sentences, he received, what did y'all tell me, a 6 and a 12. So repeating sentences, he received a raw score of a 6. What was his percentile? Was it a 63? Oh, I don't even remember 63. Is that right? Did everybody get 63? All right. And then what was his standard score for repeating sentences? Oh, I do remember an 11. I remember 111. That's true. All right. And so for following directions, the raw score was 10. What was his percentile? I'm sorry, not 10. I'm sorry. The raw score was 12. It was 12. 63 for both? Okay, thank you. And then his raw score, standard score was what? Are y'all sure? Isn't that me? Oh, I have what else to say. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, what was it? Following directions. Oh, all right. I guess you are sure. You're right. There it is, right there. Sorry for doubting my class. I'm so sorry. So that could have faith in us. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. I don't like blackboard. Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, so describing actions. What was the raw score? a 4. What was the percentile? And what was the standard score? Okay, sequencing event. What was the raw score? 3. And the percentile? 25. And the standard? 8. Now, together, let's find the ELQ quotient. The ELQ quotient was what? A total of what? 7. Okay. So now, after you fill out this, the record of scores, you'll have to go down to, hold on, the next section. Here you're looking at the composite scores. Now let me talk to you a little bit about a standard score. All those composite scores, these are standard scores. The mean of a standard score is 10. Okay, with a standard deviation of 3. So 10 is considered average. Okay. So here are your standard scores. So articulation, you have a standard score of 7. I'm sorry, he got a score of 7. Standard score of 7. Oh, I'm sorry, let me look at my right one. That would be a standard score of 9. Yes, standard score of 9. The percentile is 16. Now you got to go find the quotient. And to find the quotient, then you got to go to the that list. Oh, right here. Okay. Oh, Lord. So the artic, it would be a 95. Is that what y'all got? Good. So you know how to do this. That's right. So a standard score of 9 is a 95. Now you got to go to the subtest, right? So it's going to have you to, it's too bad I got this on 2 different thingies. I got to go back and forth because I don't have my sheet. So now you're going to get the receptive language, RLQ composite score. And that's going to equal to a 16. And you're going to get the quotient there of an 80, I'm sorry. That's going to equal to an 18. And you're going to get the quotient of what? 6 and 12 is 18. Julie, I don't know what your 11 is. No, not 106. I don't remember 106. Anybody else get 106? Let's go and look. Oh, you're right. 11 and 11. You're right. Thank you. That's right. 106. And that would be your receptive language quotient. And then your expressive language quotient would be 15. And what was that? An 85. Okay, then you add up all of the different standard scores, and what did you get for all of the different standard scores? Let's see, 22 and 15 is 37 plus 9 is 46. And then what was the quotient? What was the standard score for all of them? For the what? Making sure we're on the same page. It wasn't a 95. Anybody else? Would it be 9 plus 22 plus 15? Hello? Oh, shucks. Hello? Can you hear me? I'm not getting any responses from anybody. Oh. Oh, that's true. You get rid of the article. I'm sorry, people. I'm just really out of it. 37. 37 is the standard score. 37 is the standard score. And then, hold on. Right. 37 is the standard score. And then where does that equal in terms of your quotient? 95. I got you. Okay. I lost my sheet, so I don't have, I'm having to go back and forth. Okay, very good. That's true. I see they didn't put in the article. So you add up all the standard scores, and now you have his quotient. Now, according to the manual, it is better to go by the RLQ and the ELQ and the GLQ than it is to go by just the individual standard scores. Because as you look at these RLQs and the ELQs, what it gives you an idea, we can add one area, it could bring up the other area. It gives you more of a generalized idea about his skills instead of depending on one area. So they suggest that you pay more attention to the composite scores. So then what you do is map the composite scores here. So what we have is a 106. Let's see. What was the article? I didn't write down the article. Was it a 95 for article? Okay. So what we have here is a 95, a 106 for the receptive language quotient, and 85 for the expressive language quotient. So you're kind of down in here for the expressive language quotient. And then the general language quotient, you go back up to 95 up here. So that's what you put your X's. So you look at the trends. So right now, except for in one area, he is just slightly below the 100. 100 is average. Slightly below the 100, which is average. Then for repeating for the standard scores, so if you look at the standard scores, for article, he's a 9. For the other two, he is slightly above average, the 11 and 11. And then he would be down here at 7 and 8. So you would put all of those scores there. You put your X's. So that's your profile. So do you understand in terms of just doing the calculation? So that's all this is, doing the calculation. Okay, good. I don't know why my thingy isn't scrolling down, because I can't see when you put the responses, it's not scrolling down. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the interpretation. So you have age equivalents. There are some agencies, the American Psychological Association, that really want you to stop using age equivalents. However, because your school systems require age equivalents still, then many tests have kept them on because it's for eligibility. You need it for eligibility in the schools. Is that true for some of the schools you work in? Oh, I got to hurry up. If you need to leave, you can leave because I'm past the time. But y'all had a lot of questions earlier. Okay, let me see. It's not scrolling down. It should scroll down so I can see what people are saying. Okay. All right, so the age equivalent obtained on the 482 should be considered a representation of that child's performance. Only on this test It should not be interpreted as a diagnostic language development age. So you can't say to this parent, this child is performing like a 3-year-old. So you don't want to do that at all. So I don't like doing these age equivalent types of things. So they've been found to be very unreliable. And remember, the fluidity is just a screener. So with a screener, it just tells you whether or not you need to go and do further testing. And then you have percentiles, percentile ranks. And so here, it just means if the person scores at 56 percentile, they did better than, let's see, they did better, they did, I guess, how do I want to put it? 44? 44% of the people did better than they did. But the 56% is pretty good still on a test like this. When you see kids with problems, they're scoring like at 10 percentile, things like that, not at the 56 percentile. Let's see. Standard scores, we use standard scores like the ones that with the mean of 10. Standard scores are used so that you can compare one test to another test. So the standard score on this fluhardy should be similar to a standard score on another screener, let's say the PLS screener. So, but whereas if you use raw scores can vary depending on how the test maker set up the test. So when they standardize it to get rid of that variability so that you can look at this test standard scores of a 9 and then you see another standard score of a 9. You know that those are equivalent standard scores, so you know what you're looking at. So you can make comparisons. And you can make comparisons across subtests as well. Okay? So if you find that a person scores a 3 on following directions and 14 for describing actions, you could conclude that following directions was a weakness compared to describing actions. And describing actions was a strength. So there the expressive part was much better than the receptive by looking at the standard score. So you can make those kinds of interpretations. So looking at your child, you know, you might want to say that his expressive quotients seem to be weaker than his receptive quotients are standard scores. Okay, so here are the standard scores. So your child scored anywhere between 7 and 11. So you see 8 to 12, he scored average, scored on the average range. Now on one subtest, he scored at 7, below average. And the expressive. Hold on, 1, 3, 7. No. So which one was the 7? It's where he scored 4 points. Which one was that? Are you looking at your sheet? Where he had a raw score of 4, describing actions. So on describing actions, he scored at below average, but everything else he scored average and above average. Now, in that case, you might want to ask, well, is it something I did? Is there something more about him? You know, on describing actions, is it the test pictures? You know, so you might want to look at those kinds of things. Is it dialect? You know, did he not say some endings because of the region? He's in the South. Maybe Southerners don't say endings on this particular, you know, don't use these morphemes. And I said he was wrong, when indeed he may not be wrong. Does he have a black dialect? So maybe I took off stuff for dialect, and it's not really a problem. So you have to look back to see if everything else is okay. if everything else is okay, then if everything else is okay, then you might want to reconsider that one subtest. Now, in terms of it scoring below the line, it's just saying that he is scoring below the mean. The mean is 10, but you have a standard deviation of 3. So even though they scored below the mean, you see in here, they're saying that of the standard score of 10, that's the average. But a person can score an 8 and still be considered average. They don't want to just take one score and say, okay, if you don't make that score, that's it. A person that scores even above the 10 is still considered average. So it's giving you some leeway, that even though he's scoring below that 10, that average, he's still considered average overall because of the standard deviation. Does that make sense? So this is what you want to go by. You want to go by the interpretation guide. Okay? And you can see half of the population that took the test scored between 8 to 12. And their population is supposed to be normal. You know, all the kids they use on their normative samples are supposed to be normal. So 49, 16, let's say 50 plus 16, what's that? 66? 66 plus 9 is 75. So from this part up here, 75% of the group scored average or above. And then the rest of the group scored below average or below. And you have, let's say 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. And about 9% scored poor and very poor. So these are the kids here you want to look out for. You might want to do a diagnostic on these kids right here. You probably do want to do a diagnostic. These children at below average, you might want to rescreen in a few months. Do you see? But these here, you want to recommend for a diagnostic. At least that's what I would do. Okay. Okay, now the most reliable scores are not necessarily these scores here. According to the Fluharty, the most reliable scores are the composite quotient scores having a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. So those are those bigger scores that you got. So let's see if I can find it right here. So these are the scores here. So your child, our child, scored 85, let's see, was the lowest, so 95 to 106. So basically they're matching up pretty much the same. So he's average except for that one little area. So what would you say about your child? Average on everything except for one little area. Would you say, what would you do? Would you say that he failed? Yeah, I probably would not recommend for an evaluation. I would pass him. I would put a note that maybe to, maybe check on him for that description. Now, if they have a dialect, then I won't check. I'll say this is due to dialect. So you have to figure out what it's due to. If it's not due to a dialect because he's Southern, because he speaks AAE, because he speaks Appalachian, or because he speaks a second language, because it could be second language, then if it's none of those, then I might say recheck in 6 months just for that, that area. And every speech pathologist is a little bit different on that. It depends if you're really cautious or if you're just kind of like, I think he'll be okay. And if you are, what you'll have to do as a student, you will have to go with what your supervisor tells you. Okay. Okay, hold on. You can read the interpretation. So those children who fall in the below average, poor, or very poor range are to be considered at risk. So that's why I said on that one little area where he scored below average, because it was only one. If it was throughout the entire test, he scored below average, and he may come out with a mild language problem. And then I would do a diagnostic. But because it was just that one little area, I would just wait a little bit to see. I would try to figure out why and then wait. Yeah. But so here is your interpretation. So if you see below average on most of the subtests, definitely poor or very poor, according to here, they are at risk for communication delay or disorder, and you want to do further investigation. Now, this is a screener. You're not saying he has a language problem. You're only saying, I want to do further investigation and for a diagnostic. And then you will make a referral for a diagnostic. Okay? Any questions? The rest of this you can kind of read on your own. I still didn't get an hour. Is just not enough time to teach you a test. All right. That's the Florida. If I don't have any questions, I will let you go. Anybody, is there anyone who still feels a little bit confused about how to interpret the test? Please ask now. Thank you, Angela. All good. Okay. Good night. Good night. Good night. All right. I'll wait because there may be some shy people. Oh. Okay. I will. All right then. Good enough. Okay. Good night. I guess no questions, huh? That's all right. I understand. Nicole is asking, oh, she's saying good night. Oh, okay, Sierra. All righty. Good night. Good night. I see Rola is writing something. Good night. Okay. All righty.